fathers were best friends?
Yes.
Is that where you would say it starts?
I think that's where it starts.
Do you know how old they were when they became best friends? I would love to talk to them about it.
I know. I think that they were like early teens. I think they were like maybe 11, 12. I don't know the age gap between our dads either. Like my dad's, I think, 56.
My dad's born in 69.
I think my dad's 68.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think they were like 11, 12. I don't think that they were late teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
But
I've seen pictures of them as like little kids.
Oh, I haven't.
With their arm around each other.
Oh my gosh, I haven't
would love
seen
to find
that. I have pictures for today, but like not of that.
I think my aunt has it.
Yeah.
I'll definitely. Maybe we could pull it up on the screen. I think we'll do that.
Yeah,
because
I think so too.
I got some inspiration from another podcast. I think that's a better way to do it,
okay,
rather than try to like pull it up real time.
I know that's what I was thinking. I sent them to myself, but like we can't pull them up here.
Yeah.
But the reason
you have pictures?
Yeah, like I did a deep dive. I found pictures.
Okay.
Not really of us though. But
no.
Yeah, some. But the reason that they were best friends is because they were neighbors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they lived in a semi-detached.
It's so funny that you're teaching me this.
Yes. I had to really reflect. I had to think about it.
Yeah.
Because I don't really remember either. But they lived in a semi-detached house. So like there were 2 front patios, and the way that they tell it is like our grandparents would like sit and chat with each other on the patio. Oh. And then they became best friends, family. So that's why.
Okay, so they
were neighbors.
It was our grandparents that became friends even before us.
Yes, and I have pictures of them.
This goes back generations.
Yeah, it does. And I have pictures of them. I have pictures of our grandmothers and our grandfathers, and this like the one of our grandfathers is so cool. But
yeah, we'll pull that up too. Maybe.
Yeah, we will. Maybe I need to send them to you so you can actually see them in real time. But anyways, they were neighbors, and that's why like they became close. So cool. I don't know who lived in the house at the same time, but I feel like it was just our dads, and maybe like I think their other siblings were older at that point.
Yeah, I don't know how much I should comment on like their history, but
I know.
like so much of what I know about their friendship was like they like partied together, and like had a great time. Like, I'm sure you have this same memory. You must. Like when we used to hang out and our parents would just be crying of laughter in your dining room.
That's what
we almost felt like we couldn't go over there.
No, because like they were deep in conversation. Like,
oh yeah.
But that's the majority of my memories is just like screaming, laughing in the background. Mm-hmm. And then we were just like playing amongst ourselves.
It made me reflect on like my own best friendships. Yeah. How like that's exactly how it would be if I like introduced my best friend to my family.
It's so true.
Just be like crying of laughter at the dinner table,
Exactly.
Crazy. So our parents were best friends, and then we were just kids. I think we didn't even really communicate, you and I, as children. Like we actually, like none of us really did. We just did a bunch of cool shit.
Yeah, we were just dragged along. We were literally just dragged along. And well, because even going back, your dad was like one of the groomsmen in my parents' wedding. So like it really it goes all the way back. But then once both of our parents got married, and then they're like, by the time we were kids, there was kind of a weird age gap between us where me and my brother were a bit younger than like you and Olivia. So we didn't really talk until we got older, but we were just there, and we would just, find things to do, make the best of it. And like, we had fun still.
It's so like, it's such you think about it, it's like this weird friendship that I don't even know if it should exist.
Yeah.
But somehow it's like always come back, and like there's these little reminders throughout our lives where it's like you just feel close somehow.
Yeah, you do.
And I think for me, and I'm jumping forward like a lot here,
That's fine.
but I remember when you posted that picture of like you seeing Frank Ocean and how there's like a fruit fly.
There is, and I've been seeing it go by.
You have? No way.
I'm like, there's something going.
Is that gonna like? That's definitely gonna show up.
Like a little bit. It will.
Oh god.
It wasn't distracting. Okay. It was just like, oh, something just flew by.
I think it's because I keep looking at it, right? And I wish I could just. I don't know where it is. It's so small. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
If I see it again, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I have to try to pretend it doesn't exist, I guess. But I don't
break the fourth wall.
Right.
So yes, I went to see Frank
like
Ocean.
The literal fourth wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you had posted. I think these are the words that I remember seeing.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I saw a ghost, or like something like that. Do you remember?
The caption is, "He's real. I saw him with my own eyes."
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. For some reason in my mind, I picture a ghost because he's like
he doesn't feel real. Yeah. He feels like, I can't find the word either, but I get what you mean.
Yeah. And it was like one of those first things that like I was like super excited that you got so close. Mm-hmm. I'm like,
there's a whole story behind
good for her. Like, you're a boss, because I know you probably like, if anybody knows Frank Ocean, they know that he's like, you just can't see him and he doesn't do shows. So to go see him in person is like a big deal.
There's a whole story behind that too.
I want to hear it. Let's go.
So I bought tickets to Way Home. I think I was going into grade 10. No, I think I was in grade 10 going into grade 11. Yeah, because I could drive. And I bought tickets like the summer of with my friends. The group of...
Was it like on the day that they came out?
Yeah, like we had prepared. We were saving our money for it. We saw like the lineup and we were in shock. We couldn't even believe that he was coming to... Let's talk about Oro-Medonte. Like, where...
Right?
Where are we going? So, yeah, we bought tickets. I remember putting all of my friends' tickets on my like Visa debit card. It was probably like $1,500. Was the most I'd ever spent, ever. And it came to like the weekend of like the whole of the concert, and I got in trouble and my parents said I couldn't go.
Oh no.
Because I think I was just about to get my G2 and I had driven without my license. So I like drove myself around illegally with a G1, and you were like, you're supposed to have you're supposed to have someone with you. But I, fucked around and drove around without anybody with me, and they caught me and they said I couldn't go. And so all my friends were going without me, and I was supposed to drive everybody. So they figured out a way to go without me. And it was the morning of the Sunday. He came on, he was the Sunday like headliner.
It was like the very
last
right?
day.
Yeah.
And I woke up that morning and I was like, because I had missed the Friday, Saturday, and I woke up that morning and I was like, I'm going. I was like, there's literally no way I'm missing this. Yeah. So I woke up and I was like plotting this way to leave, and I forget what I told them. Probably just I was going to hang out with a friend or something, and I was going to be back like later or tomorrow. And I packed my bag and I just like trekked my way to Oro-Medonte.
Wow.
And didn't tell them. And I got there like midday and I saw Daniel Caesar. And then my friend had been camping out at the front of where Frank was headlining all day. He had been standing there from lunchtime, keeping a spot for all of us. So we went to Daniel Caesar, we went to someone else. And then finally it was time to to go to Frank, and people had already been piling in from the afternoon, and we found him, and he had been like holding that spot at the front for us. So that's why we were able to get that. Like, he is the GOAT. He is the reason why we were all able to see him.
It was actually a really wild experience. Like that show was unlike anything I've ever seen, number one. But also, like, big props to that guy, because I think I remember it being really hot.
It was a really hot weekend, and my friends were like, they all had heat stroke by the last day. They had like a little kiddie pool. Like, it was a hot weekend. Yeah.
And for context, let's tell them about Oro-Medonte.
Let's tell them
this. And let's break the fourth wall and tell them about more. Tell them. Who's them?
I don't know.
Nobody yet.
Nobody.
Somebody someday.
Yeah.
but it's basically like this tiny town, which in my mind, everybody just gets angry that there are concerts happening there all the time.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing they have going for
it's
it.
cottage country.
Right. Yeah. And it just seems insane that Frank Ocean made his way out to this. It was like the only Canadian stop he did out of 3 shows. Like, I don't think he even did more than 3.
He hadn't performed in years. Like, he hadn't.
I think that year was the year he did 3.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like I think. I could be wrong about that, but
you're probably
pretty
right.
sure. And then he didn't do anything after. It was
Gone.
like, didn't make another album. He did some singles, but those singles were like gold to me. Every time he dropped one, I was like, okay, like my life has just like boosted just a little bit more.
That whole season.
It used to fuel me.
Yeah, like that whole season where he was producing things was huge.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Okay, what's your favorite out of those? There's like a handful of singles that he did. I think let's go between Chanel, Lens, Provider.
Mm-hmm.
I think Biking was one of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say Biking is my favorite.
Is it?
Because of the Tyler feature. That's my favorite. But also, I was listening to Provider like a couple months ago, and it's so good. And I like
it is so good.
I bounce back and forth. I think Chanel gets overdone a lot of like I hear it in movies and I hear it in different things. So I'm like, okay, but Provider and Biking were my favorite for sure.
I think I had like a little fling with each of those songs.
Yeah.
Like, and it's so hard for me to decide, but I think Provider or Lens were the two that it's so hard to say. I don't know which one I played the most, but anyway. I guess I'll digress a little bit because it's a little bit, he had so many singles that were so good. It's hard to even compare.
They were all magic a little bit.
Yeah. So then he was like super late for that show.
He was.
I remember. I think he was like 2 hours late, something like that.
Yeah, he was.
And everybody was getting to a point of like frustration and leaving.
Because the opener was Porter Robinson and
yeah, I skipped that.
Yeah, and I wish I did, but we were holding our spot.
Right, you had no choice.
And the opener was just terrible. And listen, like I've realized that there's like a group of people in this world that love him. Apparently he's like,
I actually don't know a lot of his stuff.
I didn't either, but it's very electronic. And there were a lot of people there that weren't even there for Frank Ocean. I realized that after watching the crowd for the opener, I was like, me and my friends were all looking around like, I don't think people are even here for him.
Yeah. I noticed that weekend that anything was like that was dance music wasn't like the sound wasn't traveling very well. I don't know why, but like I think Major Lazer was the other one.
Yeah.
I think they were there and it was so disappointing. Well, that was maybe the year before. Sorry.
It was it was Bone. No, it was not Bones. It was I'm going to forget who it was cuz I didn't see them, but my friend said it was amazing.
Oh, okay.
I forget who it was. And
there were some great acts that weekend anyway. Like Foster the People crushed it. Schoolboy Q crushed
and
it.
I really wish I saw him.
Yeah. I think it was Russ that we saw, and that was I have to tell you that story.
Okay.
And I can't believe we're on way home this much, but
I know, but it's iconic.
It really is.
Because
so
it's
sad.
also gone.
That ended up being the last year.
Yeah, like it's also gone. So we kind of have to reminisce
the best festival we had in Ontario, and it's gone. It's so disappointing. But he ended up like finishing his set at midnight, or they were cutting him off at midnight.
Okay.
And the crowd was going so crazy to hear more that all the lights were off, all the speakers were off, everything was off, and the whole crowd was still singing his songs in the pitch black.
Whoa.
And it was like incredible to like, because I had never heard Russ before that.
No.
And like the whole crowd was singing his songs without a speaker system or lights. And it was just,
wow.
It was insane.
He had he had an effect on them.
Totally. Like
I was not a Russ fan.
Both my siblings, they were like in love with that set.
Wow. I was not a Russ fan at all. I'm still not really a Russ fan. but
yeah, it's a different kind of taste. You know what I find, and this is like a deep, probably I don't know if this is even that relevant, but his snares and like the claps in his mixes
it's aggressive.
Are so high pitched. I'm like, I think I've gone deaf from that.
It's aggressive.
But that's a perfect transition into what I actually went deaf.
Okay.
When I actually went deaf, a little bit. I'm not fully deaf, but I think I am slightly
hearing
deaf
damage
because of Vince Staples at Tyler the Creator.
I'm so glad you came to this.
So let's just
I'm so
recap
glad you
a little
came to
bit.
this. Like, yeah, this was on my list.
Yeah. We hadn't talked to each other in I don't know how many years. And like, of course, if there's one person you're going to run into at Tyler the Creator, it's Jasmine DeLeon. And and I remember thinking, like, of course she's here, number one. What happened first? Was it that or Frank Ocean?
Frank Ocean was first. Tyler the Creator was like 2019. I was in university at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know you're going to have your own take on this whole thing. But I think ever since then, you and I have like had this like telepathic understanding
100%.
of like, and I don't know what it is. Like, maybe you can help me describe this, but it's like this open-mindedness towards music is probably how I would describe it. Like, I just know that you know the coolest stuff and I know that if I were to like talk to you about music, we would have like a good understanding of each other.
100%.
And yeah, but that was a crazy concert. I think that was Dylan's first concert, my brother.
What? Oh my gosh.
No, it would have been
I was going to say.
Yeah, it was technically like
concert,
his first like
not festival.
Yeah. Not festival, yeah.
Very different.
So tell us what happened at that concert, because I don't even really know.
I know. So so this is like 2019 and Tyler the Creator's touring for the Flower Boy album, which was life-changing for me at the time. And me and one of my best friends, Maddie, who I actually think would be a good guest, but she lives in Australia now, so it would be so difficult to like work with her time schedule. But we bought tickets. We were like obsessed with him at the time, and I didn't eat dinner, and
oh boy, I'm just realizing now that this is kind of like a first impression.
It is. We're going back to like, I'm such a different person now, but we're going back to like the first two stories that I have are a little bit, I don't know, it's very telling of like who I was back then.
I mean, to be fair, we are talking about like our younger selves, like so whatever,
I have lots of funny stories, but so I didn't eat dinner, and we went we drove down, and then at this point we're talking about like I haven't eaten since lunch, so now it's like 8 p.m. And Vince Staples was the opener. We got there early because like me and Maddie were trying to get the best spots possible. And we were up close to the front, and, you know, we had to wait probably 45 minutes for Vince Staples to come on. And he came on, and it was hardcore. Like, I did have hearing damage from that. And people were just pouring in from that point on. And so at that point, it's probably like 8 o'clock. And there's still another like 40 minutes until Tyler the Creator's coming on. And it's so hot in there. And
I think the bass, I don't know why the bass seems like it was making things hotter.
It was.
But I think it was. And like vision blurred kind of bass. Like it was crazy.
It was dense.
I don't think somebody should be in trouble for the amount of bass that
It's true. It's true. It was so, and like the flashing lights. I remember the set vividly. It was so aggressive, but it was so good also. Anyways, we're in the middle of the mosh pit. Like people are just pouring in. We're being pushed in like sardines, and we're waiting for Vince Staples, or we're waiting for Tyler to come on. And I'm so thirsty, and I'm just like, but we can't leave. Like we can't leave our spot. So eventually, I'm like, you know, peeking up for air. It's so hot in there, and then eventually I just drop. Like I just fainted.
Oh, so you actually did?
I just fainted.
Oh.
But it wasn't like unconscious. I just dropped and then like came back to my senses. But my poor friend Maddie is like 110 pounds soaking wet, probably. So she could not catch me. I think it was a person behind me that caught me. And I had fainted. And I don't know if we didn't see each other before that, right? It was okay. No, so then at this time, like, I'm being dragged out of the concert by the medics or like whoever's carrying me out. I don't really remember. Yeah. And I'm sitting down in the concession area and I'm just like, I just need a glass of water. Like, I'll be fine. Like, the medics are trying to like convince me to sit down. I'm like, I just need water. I'm okay. And I sat for probably 10 minutes. And then I hear the opening theme. And I hear like the chords and the violin, and I'm like,
and what is it? It's Who Dat Boy, right?
Yeah. And I'm revived. Like, something in me just like like I had a sip of some dirty water from a concession stand.
Like, somebody touched me.
Literally. And I just hear the chords and I'm like levitating. I'm like, let's go right now. And we just ran back into the crowd because Maddie's probably like, are we leaving? Like, is she okay?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Well, doesn't that perfectly describe like a Tyler fan?
100%. Nothing was stopping me. So we ran out. And then I think that's when I saw you and Dylan was like, yo, are you good? Like, are you on something?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That is what we thought at the time.
Because why wouldn't you?
Yeah. But, I have so many thoughts about that. But also, like, I remember having like this feeling of terror, like your sister was like in real trouble.
For real. Like, and you guys were just observing from afar. Like, wait, is that Jasmine? And
oh yeah. I was like petrified. I'm like, I hope she's good. Yeah. Like, I feel like there's something we need to do. But, like, here.
Do I jump in? Do I not? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was wild. But then it makes me think about that recent Travis situation. Where like this happens all the time. And it can be really scary, I guess, right?
It can be. But it's also so like every concert I go to now I realize I'm like it's like all the time.
Yeah.
And you don't know if someone's like overdosing or if someone is like just not feeling well. Like, it was literally just a blood sugar. It was just blood sugar and dehydration.
Which probably is another thing that's associated with like waiting at a concert for a long time. Like, you might not eat.
You're not allowed to bring anything in. You're not allowed. Water's $8. So I don't know. They kind of set you up for failure. But I had the best time after that. Such a good concert.
That was, Dylan and I always reflect on it. Like, that was just one of the best times.
It's just,
and
sorry,
his like that album was so good.
Magic again.
There's no better album that he's made, in my opinion.
The thing is, for me, when I listen to interviews with him, it kind of makes me sad because he knows he made it for pop fans, and it like hurts my feelings a little bit that he had to alter his art. But and it makes me not want it to be my favorite album, but it absolutely is.
I know. You make such a good point. I know. But at the same time, like, if it wasn't for that, like, would people listen to his like amazing creative outlooks? Like, that's what I am interested in now of his, is just like the way he talks.
Yes.
Like, it even inspires some of this podcast in a lot of ways.
Very much so.
The way he talks.
And
right?
he 100% fueled and like sparked part of my love for music. And I don't know. It did make me sad, like, hearing his take on it, but at the same time, it also made me go back and and go back to what I used to like, and then, stay plugged into what he was making now.
Yeah. And maybe it's funny to like put him in the same sentence as Morgan Wallen, but I'm going to for a second, because
I'm open to it.
If you look at, it's just like, I listen to his music, and it's so easy to listen to. And, like, maybe there should be more effort you put into when you're listening to music, but sometimes you just want to scream in the car, like whatever the lyrics 100%. Are to a song, right? And unfortunately, I can't find that with a lot of like Tyler's other music.
It's not.
It seems singable. Like, yeah. So sometimes like you want that, but not to say.
Hi, Freefly.
Not to say that I wouldn't listen to it, because the other thing that I respect about him so much is that there's no barrier. Like, there's not a boundary that he doesn't push.
Yes, that's right? Very true.
It's like whatever comes out. And that's the life of a real artist, in my opinion. Like, did every Picasso piece make it to a gallery? No. But anyway.
There is, like, you can feel the heart that goes into it. And it's true, there does have to be a certain aspect of listenability, and like there's certain things that can be a radio hit and there's certain things that can't. I think that put him on the map for things like Igor, which, like, even if you listen to it now, wouldn't really be radio worthy, but he warmed them up for it. And so then you would hear, I can't remember the name of the single, but you would hear Earthquake. Yes, you would hear Earthquake on the radio, like, where you wouldn't have a few years ago.
Yeah.
But
it also, like, inspired a new age of art 100%. In my mind. Like, it wasn't even just the music, but everything that he does surrounding the music, and like all those things that's what makes him so different. Like, you wouldn't see Morgan Wallen like modify a Rolls Royce to like look like a boat. Is that what he did?
Yeah.
I don't even know. And it's just like he had this idea and he brought it to life, and it's so admirable. Like, we all want to be that person where we can make something cool enough that we're going to share, and then regardless.
And then you see the through lines in, like, his fashion brand, and you see the through lines in everything else, like the set design and like the magazine, everything. You can see where his creative mind, like, connects it all.
Mm-hmm. And then, like, there's artists that will take that work. Like, I've seen so many people do art of like the wig. Like,
yes,
the blonde wig, you know? And it just, like, inspired this whole new creative, I don't know, what would you call it? Revolution?
Yeah, his concepts are I don't know, maybe they are revolutionary, but
yeah,
they're extremely unique.
Yeah.
While still, like, most of his work is sample work too. So I don't know, like, there's still so much paying homage to the people that came before him too. But
I think he did a Nardwuar interview.
He did.
Where did you see it?
Yeah, I did.
I just love when he's talking about, like, how musicians should, like, talking about music shouldn't be weird.
Yeah.
But I maybe you can help me summarize that, because I can't remember exactly the points that he was trying to make, but it felt like it resonated quite heavily. I can't
remember it now. It's been a long time, but that's a really old interview.
Oh no, this was the most recent one.
Oh, I think he's done it twice, but maybe I haven't seen that one then.
Yeah, it's just essentially like this idea that when you go on an interview, you know, an interviewer will ask questions about things completely unrelated to music, and the musician is expected to have, like, interesting insights on it. No, they're a musician and they have musical insights.
He's like, I've been in the studio for a year straight, or like 2 years straight. I don't care about, politics. I don't care about what's going on in the, like, this is what I've created. Do you want to talk about that? It's like that's what.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And like, that honesty in his interviews is, like, what brings out that it just inspires. I think that's what we hope to do with something like this, even.
Yeah.
Right.
And it breaks down the, like, celebrity, the
shell that they're in. Kind of.
Exactly. It breaks down.
Like, they're just normal people
who just want to talk about what they made, and
yeah,
they may not have opinions on everything else.
Right. So that's Tyler the Creator. Some iconic
that was a huge
moments.
Yeah.
There were, like, I discovered X during that concert. Like, Taco did the DJ set.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing, like, the whole crowd go crazy for that song "Fuck Love."
Yes,
which I had never heard before that, and that, like, hit something in my soul where I'm like, we haven't lost it yet. Like, more concerts.
Music hasn't died. Like,
yeah. And then I think Nights was right after that, and the whole crowd went crazy.
Yeah.
It was such a good time. Just wild. Do you have anything else you wanted to touch on in the Tyler the Creator show?
I don't think so. I just think it's so funny that out of all of the people that it was you two that were there. Like in all of a sudden we make eye contact and my friend's like, who are those? I'm like, those are my words. Boys. Like those are my like
yeah.
Alex and Dylan. Like,
oh, that's so funny because like every time we've reconnected, we usually reconnect on Christmas, I would say.
Always, yeah.
And it's always like, I don't know if it's because we were somewhat introverted. I think so. But like there's always that awkward, like we're trying to just get used to being around each other again.
And then by the end of the night, it's like, oh, I wish we could do this all over again. And now that like now that the awkwardness is gone. But
right.
It also just comes with like being a teenager too. I don't know.
Yeah.
And being like around family and like there's a certain awkwardness that's gonna be it's Christmas Eve, it's a family Christmas party, like you're with your parents. I don't know, there's gonna be a certain weirdness there. But
yeah, I think the last time we did that, your mother is a nurse, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
and I had like some like weird bit of like, I keep calling it shrapnel because I don't know what else to call it, but something that I got from work was like stuck in my hand.
A like splinter?
I think it was a rock.
Oh.
Yeah, and it had been stuck in my hand for like
I remember this.
For like more than a month. It was a long time. And she showed me how to get it out, and like I was like soaking my hand using ice, and it came out, and from then on, I have thought of your mother as like this superhero. Yeah. Like she saved my life that day.
And I just want to, acknowledge. What?
Yeah. No, that's memorable Christmas stuff.
For real.
What a wild time. And I don't know, should we fast forward to now? There's obviously things in between there, but
yeah, maybe we'll go back like in the future, but yeah, I feel like that's probably good. We got an idea of how we know each other, and there's plenty of stories there. I don't know. There's so many stories to go through, but I think it's a good summary.
And I think overall, like, I don't know how long you would say that we felt this way about like both of our, I don't know, like this, I keep calling it like a telepathic thing.
Yeah, I would say it's unspoken. Like,
yeah. Because we just like see what we're doing on social media.
Yeah.
And, like kind of like hyping each other up in some way. And you definitely like hyped me up a ton.
I'm glad.
About the art, and like, it just like, I think I was doing, or I still paint just for the, just because I like to do it. But I always thought that I had to stay like so true to this passion that I had, and I can't stray away from it in any way. But something I've realized in the last week is that through the work, you find ways to like as long as you're an open-minded person, opportunities will like present themselves, and you could lean into it, or you could stick to the old thing.
Yeah. And
you might not ever go anywhere. So like, I just think it's important to try new things. And that's how we ended up on the podcast, is because it's just like this possibility that we want to explore.
It is. And like, you're right, because it's like, when do you take that jump? It's the same brain. It's the same side of the brain. It's the same, I don't know, you wanting to use your hands, you're wanting to let those ideas flow through, but it's scary to try something new. And it's like, when are you gonna, because even when I would see what you're doing, it's like, oh my gosh, okay, he's painting now. Oh my gosh, no, he's doing music now. Oh, he plays the guitar and the drums. Oh, okay, he's doing other, it's like, oh, you're doing graphic design. It's like, it's almost intimidating to people when you dabble in multiple things and you don't just stay in your lane, because a lot of people want people to just stay in their lane and like master that craft. But it's almost intimidating if you utilize your talents in other ways.
That was an interesting take right there.
Yeah.
I never thought of it as intimidating to other people, but I think like even in person, sometimes I'll like draw on a napkin.
Sure.
And not to like in the most humble way possible. But like,
yeah,
I can sense that people kind of wish they could do it, And
that's the thing.
And I don't want them to feel like they wish they could do it. I want them to do it with me. That's how I've always thought about it. Is like, no, like, here's the napkin. Now you draw something. I'll hype you up about it. You know?
This is I don't. This reminds me of like kindergarten. It's like, I just want to be friends. Like, maybe we can share. Maybe you can do it too.
You know, I feel like a lot of things that I'll say will sound like that.
It's so simple, but it's very true.
It is. I think there's just too much emotion attached to like things like that. And, you know, I guess another thought I had about things that are artistic or creative, that like there are many, like everybody has their own creative thing that they do in their lives, but you know, it's easy to say I'm going to stick to illustration, and no matter what anybody tells me, you know, I know from what I've heard on the internet that I have to stick with illustration all the way until something happens for me. And maybe that's true for some people, but imagine a world where you like just say yes to the next thing that excites you. And, you know, like we're doing a podcast now, but if somebody said, I don't know, like if somebody said to you and I, like, you should be in our marketing. Actually, I had a rant about marketing today. Sorry, I'm going on like 10 different side tangents maybe. But like join our ad agency, and imagine we were to say yes to that and experience what that was like. And it would just expand our horizons in a creative way. And there's no wrong answer, you know? I don't know if I had a real point there.
No, but it's true. And I feel like with what I was saying about the intimidation factor, it's like people see it and then it's a reflection of like, oh, damn, what am I doing? This person's doing so much. What am I doing? It's easy to, instead of just appreciate that and gas someone up and boost them up and move on with your day, or take it as inspiration, it's now I'm insecure. And now I'm like, oh, what am I like? So I wish I had time for that. At least that there was a point in my life where I had that internal monologue of like, oh, I love to do art too, but I just don't have time. And like, I'll never be able to master it because I just don't give myself. And it's like, not that I don't have time. It's that I'm not putting my time into that.
Yeah. And I think it's worth saying that I have that too. Like when I see artists like Cause, or we were talking about Tom Sachs the other day, you know, I see what they're doing and I think like, oh, I wish that's where my life was artistically. Yeah. And, you know, like you battle like having the space and the sunlight, and like it seems like rich people things to be able to just create stuff.
It does. Like people can frame it in like that's privilege, where I wish I had, you know, the time to do that. I wish I didn't work. Like there is this idea of, and like not everyone has 8 hours a day but it's, I don't know, it's about time in versus time out. It's either you want to or you don't at a certain extent, because it's like you were saying off camera about at what point do you go all in and like put everything you have into it and pursue it for real.
Yeah. And I think sometimes it goes right back to just like caring and loving people, caring for and loving people, because you like just you showing me some attention towards the art inspired me to do one more thing.
Exactly.
And that's one person that had that motivation or that, what's the word I'm looking for?
The push, like that you needed to
push,
to keep going.
And there's I don't know, there's like, I try to be that person for people sometimes because I know how much it means to me. And like, if somebody has a business idea, I'm like, okay, here are the things that I think about that, because I want you to do it and I want to see you succeed and like everybody to prosper, and we can build something together. We're like, I'm open to all of these things.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. So that's how I felt when I would come across your posts and your pages. I'm like, yes, like keep going. Yes. Like it just would
appreciate that so much. You don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a big deal. So then I guess that takes us to the giveaway.
Yes.
Like, which I wish it was in your room right now.
I know.
To be
it will be very soon.
Yeah. That's all good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we decided that we weren't going to wait anymore, and we were just going to say like, okay, there's something to be done creatively and we should just pursue it.
It is.
And it feels good. It's happened like so fast.
I know, but that it's just like what we were saying. It's at what point do you just dive in? Because we could have talked about it for years and years and years and then looked back and been like, yeah, that would have been, we just 2 brains, like it would have been so good. Just do it. Like sometimes it's about that.
Yeah. And then like something I mean, you're into yoga. You just got your yoga instructor's license. Is it a license?
It's like a certification. Yeah. You're licensed, I guess. Yeah.
And I've like always been interested in that whole side, like mindfulness and yoga. All those practices are like interesting to me. And I think that could be a big part of this podcast too, is just like exploring those different outlets. And because I think those kind of serve your creativity in a lot of ways.
Totally does. It's like as a teacher and as a student, because as a teacher, I'm having to create the sequences. Yeah. And also feel it in my own body, and then create things like meditations for people, create a space for people. There's a certain like
how did you sorry to interrupt you, but how did you land on, like, was there a certain point where you were like, I know that this is what I like I want to put more energy into?
So I was attending a studio. I mean, I've been practicing yoga since university, and I would just watch a YouTube video here and there because I don't know, I'd be stuck in my dorm room and I'm like, oh, I just need to move, like, and I would watch a YouTube video, and so it would be very sporadic. I was very loose with it. And then once I finished school, it's like the dead of winter, there's nothing to do, and I started going to a local studio, and from there, I spent about 6 months attending the studio, and then I saw a post that they're doing the teacher training, and at first I was like, no, you definitely have to have more experience in that. Oh, you definitely have to, have references of some kind, or I don't know, you have to have a certain level of flexibility. You must have
something I need.
There must be something I don't have. There must be an excuse why I can't do this. That's what I was thinking. So I put it aside. And then my mom started coming with me as well. And she was like, we came home one day and she said, I saw the post for that. Wouldn't that be cool? And I'm like, oh yeah, but we're not cut out for that. And eventually she pushed like, that's how people are. You're so limiting to yourself sometimes, but
yeah.
So we chatted with the studio owner a little bit more, and she broke down some of those myths of you don't have to be a certain level, you don't have to be a certain body type, you don't have to be anything. You just have to be passionate about it and come in for the right reasons.
Show up.
And so we signed up, and I knew that I wanted to put more energy into it because I felt my body felt transformed in like 6 months, and my mind felt clearer. I was like dealing with a lot of anxiety before then, and I could just feel it like slowly withering away. And I hadn't felt that good in a very long time. So I was like, whatever this is, I want more of it. Yeah.
I'm so happy for you. That sounds amazing.
It was really transformative. And I was the way that the instructor described it, it was a 9-month program, and it just all sounded like the work that I wanted to do, the self-development that I wanted to do. I'm like, I'm just going to go on this ride. And my mom was excited to do it with me, and so we did it together.
Okay, if you feel like sharing, did you try any, like, were there any other things that you tried before meditation that you thought could cure the anxiety in some capacity?
Oh yeah. I was what else did I do? I've definitely always been drawn to a more natural approach, but when you're in a period of like,
it's like scary.
It's scary, and you're willing to do anything. So I was going to take medication for it, which there's no problem with doing, and people do all the time. I was prescribed it. I still have the bottle in my drawer, but I just never ended up taking it because I knew that it was not a chemical imbalance for me. There was like a reason behind it, which we could go into another time. But
Yeah, I relate to that
yeah,
quite a lot actually. Like I've I've been in some dark moments in my
yeah,
life, and I always thought like it's I wouldn't say like you're weak if you've
of
decided
course
you want
not.
to go the medication route, because I know how dark it can get.
Absolutely.
Um, but also like trying to be honest with yourself and say like, is there anything I can do
Yeah.
naturally that will help me get through this? And like, it's so admirable that you were able to like to find that in such a like how ancient of a practice is
Oh my
yoga?
gosh,
Like sometimes the answers are like in our
BC,
history
everything.
right there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's way beyond. And so yeah, I was going to try that. I tried counseling, I tried EMDR, I tried
What was your experience like in counseling?
it was okay, but again, like it didn't come out of nowhere for me. We'll have to go into like
Mm-hmm.
the whole story at some point, but it didn't come out of
Yeah.
nowhere, so I knew there was a reason, and they weren't able to get to it. So I
Right.
tried counseling for probably 8 months consistently,
Okay.
and it was okay. They definitely gave me tangible skills. I think that they gave me reassurance, beyond outside of like the walls of my family and my friends, which I think is really important.
Yeah.
But they did not tap into what I needed, and it wasn't a cure by any means.
Yeah. It's almost like I also did a few I think it was like 10 sessions
Yeah.
over the span of like 5 months,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And I think, they give you like the tools that you're
Sure.
mentioning. It's like of course, you didn't have those tools before,
Nope.
but it's up to you to put those things into practice. And if you don't, then again, can you really be honest with yourself and say that you're going to get better? Or are you just, and this is a hot take maybe,
Yeah.
but like it's easy to go there and vent
A
and just like
hundred
allow
percent.
that to be your thing. And I don't know, I just found that I had to at some point make the decision, okay, am I going to do these things now?
Yes.
And when I started to do those things is when I started to feel way better.
Yep. Like you can talk to me about breath work. You can talk to me about, what can I see? What can I hear? 3 things I can smell. Like you can go through all those things, but then we're only on the phone for an hour. And what am I going to do when we end the call? I'm going to go back out, into my space. I'm going to go be a university student, stressed, cramming, all this. Like, there's no
Yeah,
lifestyle practice. I'm going to go out to the club and like stay up until 4 a.m. and I'm going to smoke weed that just makes me more anxious. And I'm going to do all these things.
Yeah.
So, like,
Right.
the lifestyle practice was not there, but I wanted the
Yeah.
cure really badly.
Right. And I guess you could also say that it's like maybe what it did for me and probably most people is just that connection that you have with
Yeah.
another person now, which we all value that.
Sure.
And maybe there's not enough of that in our lives, and maybe that's why it feels good to be able to have that person. That's what I think anyway. I don't know.
I think it's weird that I'll never see them again.
Oh. Yeah, for me, the psychologist, she just got a residency, and like she said, I think you're doing a lot better, and I think like you should try living without any counseling for a little bit and see how it goes.
She cut you off. She said bye. Like discharged.
And you know what that told me though?
Yeah.
It was like, is my life really as bad as
Oh my gosh.
as I'm telling myself?
That was a huge realization when I looked back. Yeah, I was like, I think I've created in my mind, like we can go into victim mentality and all these things, but it's like I created that circumstance, that story. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really interesting actually, because I think everybody has their own way of dealing with these things, and for me this was like a final resort, it felt like. But then meditation and then finding God, like those things are like, they took that to a new level.
A whole new level.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was just like work that I just knew I had to do, and the only way you can figure it out is if you do it.
If you work through it. Yeah. There comes a point where you can't avoid it anymore, and you can't like, I don't know, you can't use any more coping mechanisms or anything. You have to just confront it and then work through it. And then, and then you're, I don't know, you're a better person for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great first episode.
Yeah.
We kind of hit every little thing for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what we could possibly call this podcast now that it's, or this episode.
I think it's like introduction.
Love it.
I don't know. I'll think a little bit more, but I feel like it's an intro.
Yeah. I hope to, like, I'm absolutely terrified to do this, but I hope like we can get people's notes. Maybe
I know, I want them
to tell us what they liked or didn't like about it.
I do want feedback for sure.
Yeah.
And possible topic ideas, like what do people want to see? What do they want to hear?
Yeah. How do you feel about that idea of creativity versus consumption?
I've been thinking about it all week.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's I
don't have any like clear notes about it, to be honest, but
no, but I just think it's going to be a consistent reflection for the next year. I feel like I'm not 100% into resolutions or anything, but I think that that's going to be something that I carry with me for the next year, because I really want to make a conscious effort to implement that slowly to a point where I am creating more than I'm consuming.
Yeah. So do you think like podcasts in general, like you've listened to podcasts a lot in your life, and did you know that, I guess we've kind of been over this, that we didn't know that this is where it was going to end up, but does this feel right to you?
It does feel right. It does feel right, because I think if I look back, we didn't get the opportunity to talk as much as we wanted to. It was always like one evening we could chat a little bit. By the end of the night, like the walls have been broken down and we were like getting into the meat of what we really wanted to talk about. And then it was like the end of the night. I'll see you in a year. Like, and then by that point, nothing's changed. And like, you can only do so much over text or like over DMs or what have you. I feel like the core of it was that we really wanted to have more discussion and we never got the chance to. So I think it feels right. I feel like I've been called to a podcast for a while, and it was daunting doing the thought of doing it by myself. But having someone who values all the same things and is interested in the same topics, I don't know if I could find someone else who is interested in all the things I want to talk about. So I feel like it definitely feels right.
Cool. Yeah. I think there's so many possibilities that can happen from just having more conversations like this.
No, I agree.
Awesome. All right.
Okay.
I think we call it there.
Cool.
Good chat.
Wow, very good chat.
Till next time.